Child Care Food Program Annual Meeting for 2025-26. I have a few things I'm going to request of the providers that are online. My first request, if you have not submitted your claim to the Child Care Food Program, can you do that this week? Maybe tomorrow? You'll make us so happy. The second thing I want to say is that we sent you a very large envelope. So everybody should have that in their possession. And in that envelope, you'll have a WIC poster that needs your attention. We want you to take that out and post it.
Hey, hold on.
Try to mute everybody again. Hold on. Mute all. Okay. Like I said, we're going to go over some new forms that you'll see in the presentation, but those forms are in your packet that you received from us. We've had been monitored lately by the state, and some of y'all may have had visits by the state accompanied with the monitor, and some with the state representative by themselves. And I just want give you some reminders. Whenever you're visited by the state, they're not only just interested in the meal that is being served, they definitely are interested in the children that are present and the children that was present the previous 5 days. So let me give you a quick example. If you were claiming 75 children for the past 5 days, and the day that the state comes in monitor, or the state that the food program monitors, we only see 50 children. We will be asking questions about the 25 children that did not show up that day that you would have claimed the previous day. Does that make sense? So please get in the habit of knowing where your children are. If they do not show up for care, make sure you know whether they're out sick, they're on a field trip, they're on vacation, where are they? Because any other excuse other than where they're at, it's going to appear as if you're inflating your meal counts. Okay? So be very careful with knowing where the children are. I have one more thing. If you are not putting your numbers in KidCare every day, you can print off a meal count sheet out of KidCare that will have the children's names. So that way you're recording the meal count and the attendance by name. So if children are not present, you'll know exactly who those children are. And if you have any questions about anything I just said, I'm going to ask you to put that in the chat. Okay. And I'm going to move forward because I want to start the presentation. And I will say this, all of the staff, and I have some new staff, they will introduce themselves as they present. Okay. So start from the beginning. There we go. Okay. First up. Well, let me go over the agenda for the day. This is what we're going to cover. It's quite aggressive. We're going to try to get through it as quick as possible. Stay with us. It's some interesting information. I know we say it every year, but it's bear repeating. So thank y'all for all being here and welcome again. So first up is application reminders, avoiding common errors with Miss Vonda Dukes.
All right, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Vonda Dukes, and I am the Child Care Food Program Supervisor. My team, the Information Specialist 3 team, that you all may get emails from, phone calls from, letters from, they are on here, and I'm going to have them to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Vonda. My name is Brandy Davila. I work with Miss Vonda, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Thanks, Brandy.
You're welcome.
Hello,
Licia?
my name is Licia Harris, and I'm information specialist. I work with Miss Wanda, and I too look forward to working with you guys.
All righty. So again, application reminders. I know a lot of you are, go back, Edna. A lot of you are old timers, which is a good thing. And then we do have some new ones. So welcome, but welcome everyone. The applications are very, very important to how you are reimbursed. So we want to make sure that you are completing the applications in a timely manner and that you are completing them or the parents are completing them correctly. This first application that you see here, what's circled in the bottom left-hand corner, and I haven't seen a whole lot of these, so that means they're not out there anymore, but I have seen a few. So just remember the applications in the bottom left-hand corner should say revised 6/2019. If you still have applications that are saying anything else other than that, please throw them away, contact us, and we can get you the correct applications. Next. Okay, so starting with the applications, we want to make sure that you are putting your center name on these applications. Make sure you're writing your name out correctly or completely. No, no letters, okay? We want to know exactly who these applications are coming from so that we can make sure we are getting them in the right place. Then we need on here the child's full name, complete name, primary hours of care. We want to make sure you're circling the days of the week in care and meals typically served. In the green rectangle box at the bottom, we do advise you to use your center's opening and closing times all the days of the week the center is open and all the meals the center serves. You may have children that do come on various days. They may not come every day during the week, maybe sporadically, but if you mark all the days of the week, all the meals that you serve and your open and close time, want to make sure that that child you are being reimbursed for feeding that child, okay, or the children. Okay, so in step number 1, we want to make sure that all the children and infants that reside in the home is listed here. All the children up to the age of 18. All children need to be listed here. And then we're going to move to the right. Date of birth for all the children that you have listed here. Do they attend the center, yes or no? Foster children or a child, yes or no? Is it a migrant child or a homeless runaway, yes or no? If, again, there are more children than you can list, add another application so that you can list the rest of the children. Step 2. In step 2, we're asking for the food assistance number or the TANF number. That number is 10 digits long, and it usually starts with the number 1. It is not the number that is on the card that the parent would take to the store to purchase their items. That number on the card starts with the number 5, and it's 16 digits. So we've seen where the number from the card is entered here as long as it fits in, but when we see the number 5, we know that that is incorrect. So please be sure it's the 10-digit case number.
Yes, I think so, but I'm not sure. So that right there shall be probably not.
Okay, so in step 3, we're asking for household members, the adult household members, to be listed here. Again, if there's not enough space, add another application and add the rest of the adults here. Moving to the right, we want the earnings from work if there's any. Make sure we are indicating the frequency, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, twice a month, or annually. Same thing with child support or public assistance, and then anyone who received pension, whatever income comes in that household, it should be listed here. We're going to go back up to section A in step number 3. We do ask for children's income. It is not the child support that the parent get. This child may get, or the children may get, SSI. That is what needs to go here, and then how frequent they get that. The number on the total household line should be the same number as the total for all children and adults listed on the form. So what we have been seeing, we'll see six household members, but on the application, there's only 2 listed. So we're going to go with that, which will or could possibly interfere with the household income and how we determine that eligibility. So make sure we are giving the number of household members as is listed on the application.
There you go.
Income families should have the last 4 digits of the Social Security number of an adult household member filled in. So if the parent is given an income, be sure we're getting the last 4 digits of the social in order to determine that eligibility correctly. If the parent does not have a social, write the word non. We can still determine the eligibility that way. If they are refusing to give the last 4 digits of the social, have them to write refused in that box. Okay? If the adult household member, again, does not have a Social Security number, they should write the word non. It's very important that that is in there. The boxes should not be left blank for an income household without the Social Security numbers. The application is scored non-needing. Okay. Step 4 is asking for the form to be signed. So the parent whose Social Security number is on the application, we would need the signature of that parent, a home address, and a daytime phone number, and be sure to date the application. Okay, so there are 3 things the parent must fill in for us to score or determine the eligibility of the application. And that would be the 10-digit case number for food assistance or TANF, the last 4 digits of the Social Security number, and the information to be completed in step number 5. Other important reminders. Please, please do not write in the section that says for contractor use only. Some of you may know how to complete that portion. That is for the office staff of the food program to complete. Okay, and then please be sure to make copies of your free and reduced price meal applications before submitting to the food program. We say that because after we have determined the eligibility, we have to sign those forms. Once they are signed, we are not able or to make copies and send them back to you. Okay, if you do need copies, let us know ahead of time. We can do that for you and send them back. Okay, so here, I want to make sure that we are paying close attention. One of these schedule has been placed in your packet when you got your annual meeting packet. So the deadline for submitting the applications each month is spelled out right here. Okay, in order to have your food program applications processed for reimbursement during each enrollment month, please use the following postmark dates for submitting applications for the 2025-2026 calendar year. Okay, if the applications are not submitted by this time, you will be risking getting paid for or reimbursed for the children you are feeding. If we don't get the applications at all, we are disallowing meals. So if you look at your payment or your reimbursement and you notice that there is a difference from 1 month to the next, then that could be one of the reasons why. Okay, if we get applications in late, those applications will be non-needy until we are able to process it the next month. Okay. If you have any questions about that, put it in the chat, or you can reach out to Brandy, Alicia, or myself. Application questions. So we're going to just briefly go back over these again. How many digits are there in the food assistance TANF case number, and what does that number usually begin with? Okay, the answer would be the number 1, and the number is 10 digits long. Must I write or circle hours of care, days of week in care, meals typically served on each child's application? The answer is yes. Many of you do leave those blank. So we want to make sure that you are paying close attention to that very top part of that application and that it is filled in completely and correctly. What must be completed for the application's eligibility to be determined correctly? Number 1, we just went over that, or A would be the 10-digit food assistance or TANF number, the last 4 digits of the Social Security number when giving an income, or the parent signature, and the parent signature, not for. Okay, so we have checklists and recap of the free and reduced price meal applications. The top section. Is your center name written or stamped at the top of all applications? Is the child's name listed at the top of the application? Did you circle the hours of care, days of week in care, meals typically served in care? Step 1, is the name of the child listed at the top also listed with other children in the household? Are all columns completed next to the child's names? If there are more children / household members than lines on the form, did you attach another form for remaining members, household members? Step 2, does the food assistance TANF number meet the 10-digit case number that typically starts with a number 1 requirement? If children receive income, is this section completed with the amount and frequency noted? Be sure the parent is not reporting child support in this section. I know a lot of this may sound redundant, but we get these applications that are not completed completely or correctly. Okay, so step 4, if qualifying by income, are the adults in the household listed by name? Are the incomes of all the adults listed in the applicable columns with the frequency circled? Are the last 4 digits of the Social Security number listed for the household member signing the application? Are all household members added correctly? Step 5, did the household member listed in step 4 sign the application? If there's no signature, we will send the application back so that you can get the application signed. Renewal application. Here is a quick but very important reminder regarding annual renewal applications of the food program. Please remember to return renewal applications in a timely manner. When it is time for your renewal, you will be receiving a packet in the mail. In this packet, you will have blank applications, an appointment sheet with the date and time your applications are due in the office, in the food program office, As you all know, at this time, we're still not open to conducting face-to-face visits. So we are asking that you place your renewal applications in the drop box to the left of the 4C building entrance doors. So up to now, we have had a few centers that are not returning their food program applications, the renewal ones. This could be very detrimental to your reimbursement. No renewal applications. The applications are good for a year. If they expire, we don't have an application to replace for the renewals, then that child or you will risk the chance of not being reimbursed at all for the month or for the children that we don't have applications for. So it's very important when you get that folder, and it will say renewal applications on there. Open it immediately, because the time you have to get those completed may be a short turnaround, depending on when you open the application. All right, hope you've had a fantastic day, and thank you for your time and attention.
Next up is compliance, rules, regulations, and guidelines.
Okay, so that's going to be me, Janet Bond. I'm a child care food program trainer, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So next slide. So where are the child care food program regulations found? If you wanted to look them up, where do you go? They are listed in your sponsor center agreement, which you should have a copy of at your center. So what is it that we expect the center to do? First of all, we really expect you to feed children. That means to prepare and serve age-specific meals that meet the program meal pattern requirements. We expect that you're going to claim only those meal types, breakfast, lunch, snack, etc., that you have been approved to claim by the sponsor. Remember that you cannot claim more than 2 meals and 1 snack, or 2 snacks and 1 meal per day for any given child. And you need to provide all eligible enrolled children the same meal at no cost to the parent or guardian. Another important responsibility is to record meal counts within 1 hour of the end of the meal service. Meal counts must be entered directly into KidCare or kept on hard copies like the weekly attendance and meal count sheets that you see below. Sign in and out sheets do not take the place of meal counts, so we really need to see that meal counts are taken by name. Meal counts should be consolidated by the end of the day, either by entering them directly into the computer or consolidating the total on the meal count summary sheet. Meal counts are based on the children that are in attendance and actually sitting down and being offered the meal. The other thing that's really important about meal count documentation is it needs to stay at the center. If you are going to take your meal count sheets home over the weekend to enter them into KidCare, make copies to take home so that you always have some documentation at the center in case someone comes for a visit. When a review is conducted, if there is no attendance and meal counts available in the computer or on hard copies, all the days for which there are no meal counts will be disallowed. It is also important that you notify your monitor of any changes to your meal times. Meals will be disallowed if you start serving earlier than the time that we have for your meal or snack to start. Meals served after the end of your mealtime also could be disallowed. So if you're not sure what your meal times are, you can reach out and ask your monitor. Notify your monitor if you plan to close your business or relocate. And I think another thing to add here is if you're changing directors, it would really be helpful for us to know the name of the new director so we can reach out if there's any training involved. It is also important that you submit your claim paperwork on time, and the due date for that is the 5th of every month. So the claim needs to be submitted in KidCare no later than the 5th of the month for the previous month's claim. Claim documentation and supporting documents are also due on the 5th of the month. So what kind of supporting documents are we looking for? We're looking for the receipts for food and non-food items purchased for the child care food program. We're looking for labor forms signed and dated by both the employee and the owner-director. Without both signatures, the labor form cannot be accepted. We're looking for applications for new children enrolled during the month and letting us know what children need to be withdrawn or reactivated at your center. We also need infant feeding forms, infant transitioning to solid forms, medical statements, and parent requests for milk or food substitutions. If you should get a corrective action plan, we certainly hope you don't, but if you should, it is very important that you respond to the corrective action plan by the due date, which will always be at the top. It's also important after the claim is processed that you review your claim error reports each month. This report will show your reimbursement amount and will also tell you how many meals were disallowed. The report provides an explanation of why the meals were disallowed so that you don't make the same error the next month. To access your monthly claim error report in KidCare, you would choose Reports from the toolbar on the left. You will select Claims from the drop-down box, choose Claim Error Report, select the month you want to see, and click Run. It's also important that you maintain child care food program records. These must be kept for the current fiscal year, and as we learned last year, now it's 5 previous fiscal years. Used to be 3, but it has been changed to 5. Records for the current month and the previous 12 months must be kept at your center, and records older than a year can be kept off-site or stored electronically. Records to be kept include menus, meal count records, attendance records, child enrollment forms, infant feeding forms, medical statements, parent requests for milk or food substitution. These records must be available to the sponsor, the Department of Health, USDA, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The other requirement is that you must attend training as required by the sponsor, which is what you're doing today. This is our annual meeting. You must allow access to your center to people that have properly identified themselves. This could be representatives from the sponsor staff, staff from the Department of Health, USDA, the Early Learning Coalition, or the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. These representatives, again, must show you proper identification from the agency they represent. Failure to allow access would be a violation of your sponsor center agreement. And remember, all these representatives need to be treated in a professional manner at all times. We also need to know if there's any changes in your license capacity, your hours of operation, expiration or revocation within 2 days of a change. A satisfactory food service inspection document done within 1 year must also be maintained. If you're on DCF licensed automatically, DCF will do that inspection. You also need to conduct the child care food program without discrimination. That means equal access for all. All children receive the same meal without cost to the parent or guardian unless there is an allergy or other medical reason. And civil rights information must be displayed. That would be the And Justice for All poster, Building for the Future flyer, and the new WIC flyer, which you should have found in your packet, and hopefully you've already put it up. And these need to be displayed where parents can see them in their own language. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Next up, we have how to have a successful meal or snack review.
Hi, good evening to everyone. My name is Linda Semeka. I am one of the CCFP specialists at 4C. We come out and do a review of your centers 3 times a year. So I am going to present to you how you can have a successful meal or snack review. So the first thing would be that you need to have accurate meal times. Serving meals earlier than your approved meal time will result in a disallowance. If we get there and you've already served the children, we can't count those meals. And meals served after your approved meal time cannot be counted either. You can request to change your meal times by contacting your CCFP specialist. And please let us know if you're going to be closed. So one of the first things you want to do is make sure that your menus are accurate. The master menu must be applied by the 1st of each month. In Kid Care, you can find this under the menus and attendance over on the left, and then the menu, then click on the menu calendar, and up in the upper right-hand corner is where it says Apply Master Menu, and you just need to click on that. When you're making, well, the current menu first has to be posted in the kitchen, certainly by the 1st of the month. It's a good idea to post it where parents can see it also. And you can find how to print your menu in the reports on the left-hand side of Kid Care. Click on the Center Monthly Menu Plan, and then choose the month and run. So it's in a different spot than where you apply the master menu, but that's where you would print it out. So then if you're making a substitution for the day, cross out the component on the menu and write in what is being served. Please do this before the meal starts. And there's an example here, just a simple line through the component and write in on the menu what it is you're replacing it with. So you need to be careful with these menu substitutions if you're substituting a whole grain. Be sure that you replace it with another whole grain. This keeps you in compliance with the whole grain requirement of serving at least one a day. And then before submitting your claim, please be sure that the substitution is recorded in KidCare in the notes box for that meal. So a little about the meal serving process, what we look for. So tables must be cleaned and sanitized before meal service and between the different groups of children who are being served. Children and staff must wash their hands. Children must be seated for the meal and the food needs to be put in front of them. They can choose not to eat it, but the meal or the snack must be served to them. If some of you might be serving family style, please remember to have enough food on the platters and in the bowls for each child to have at least the required amount of each component. Now a little about milk, which is always a topic we talk about. It's important that the correct serving size of age-appropriate milk, which is whole milk for the 1-year-olds and 1% or skim for everyone else, must be served at breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you're doing dinners. The milk should be served in a cup and then poured over the cereal if a child wants milk on the cereal. This way you are assured that they are getting the correct amount. You can find the correct amounts on the meal pattern for children flyers that again were in your packet, and they should be posted in the kitchen. And on that first line about milk, it will show you that the 1-year-olds need the whole milk, 2 to 5 need the 1% milk or skim, and so do the school-age children. And then over in the other columns, children between 1 and 2 need to have 4 ounces for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. Children 3 to 5 would need 6 ounces, and school-age children 6 and up need 8 ounces for breakfast and lunch and dinner if you're serving dinners. Some more about milk. Please check the expiration dates of milk when you purchase it and then daily thereafter. Please discard expired milk immediately. Do not serve expired milk to children, please. If a parent wants their child to drink accreditable milk other than cow's milk, they must complete a parent request for milk substitution form. This is also a new form and it can be found in the packets that were mailed out to you. If the child is to drink a non-creditable milk, such as almond, oat, or rice milk, or if the child is not to drink any milk at all, a medical statement is then required. So your milk and the reimbursement part. Purchase enough of each kind of milk for the number of children you are claiming. Failing to purchase enough milk can lead to large losses in reimbursement money. So when we come out, we are also checking on food safety. We will check your refrigerators and freezers. Refrigeration units are maintained at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and freezers are maintained at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Each fridge and freezer must have a thermometer. We are not allowed to accept the digital readouts on some of these refrigerators. You need to have a thermometer placed inside. Your best practice would be to keep an extra thermometer because they do tend to break often. I think they get smashed around in those fridges. They're so loaded. But keep one on site so that you'll always be in compliance. More on the food safety. It's important to maintain foods at the proper temperatures. That would mean keep your hot foods hot while being served also, and your cold foods cold. Prepared or leftover food must be stored in clean, covered containers that are clearly labeled and marked with the date of preparation. Also, follow proper procedures for washing, rinsing, and sanitizing utensils, food preparation equipment, and food contact surfaces. We will always, please always be sure that cleaning supplies are stored separately from your food. They cannot share counter, cupboard, or pantry space. Also, no rodent or insect infestation, please. All right, now we're talking about recording of meal counts, and this is something we have to look for when we're there. Meal counts must be recorded within 1 hour after the meal is served. They can be entered directly into KidCare or recorded on hard copies, which can accurately be entered later. Both these forms that are shown here is what is considered a hard copy. You need the individual meal count sheets filled out. Maybe they're in the classrooms and the teachers might check off the breakfast, the lunch, and the snacks of the children. And then those need to be consolidated. You need to gather those up and count the number of breakfasts, lunches, snacks, dinners if you're doing dinner, and put those over on the meal count summary sheet. The summary sheet alone is not correct. That does not tell us who ate the meals. So we need both of these, but we are not going to consolidate them. But you don't need these hard copies if you're entering directly into KidCare 1 hour after the meal. You don't need these paper copies at all. And again, we can't do the consolidating, so when we get to your center is not the time for you to be adding up those numbers and then putting them on the summary sheet for us. So meal counts then are based on the number of children present and served during the meal or snack time. Meal counts cannot be based on the number of children enrolled or even the attendance, because children may arrive late or leave before a meal or snack is served. Meal counts, again, must be accurate to the children who are actually there, not just the number matching a head count. So if a CCFP specialist comes to do a review and there are no meal counts recorded in the computer or on hard copies, all meals for the month will be disallowed. Meal counts should be consolidated right after the end of a meal or a snack. During a meal visit, again, is not the time to start totaling your meals for the previous 5 days. Remember that your monitor cannot consolidate those meal counts for you. So the other important part of the review is what we call a 5-day test. So during a meal or snack review, meal counts for that meal or snack are averaged for the 5 previous days, and an allowance is made for normal absenteeism. The result of this calculation determines what your number for the day of the review should be. You need to be equal to or higher than that number to pass the 5-day test. So if you fail the 5-day test, we require an explanation. And if the explanation is not adequate, a corrective action plan will need to be completed. Follow-up visits will be required until the 5-day test is passed. Inflating meal count numbers is one common reason why the 5-day test is not passed. The other thing your monitor will look for are the food program applications. So paper copies of each child's application or the enrollment forms must be on site and available for the monitor to review. Please be sure to make copies of forms before you turn in the originals to our office. So at the end of the site review, you and your monitor will agree how many children were present for the meal or snack. When you sign the review, you are agreeing to that number. So changing that number or any number used as part of the 5-day test after the monitor leaves will result in a disallowance and a corrective action plan. So in order to have a successful review, what you want to do before you submit the claim for a month in which you had a review, make sure that the numbers you are submitting match the numbers on the review documents that your monitor has sent to you. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and your attention to these requirements will assure that you have a successful review.
Writing a corrective action plan is our next topic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Akima Barr, and I'm a CCFP specialist. So, do you know how to write a corrective action plan, and when is it issued? When one or more significant issues of noncompliance with food program rules is found, and when a significant number of meals are disallowed because of a failure to follow food program rules. Why are corrective action plans even needed? They are needed to ensure that the facility staff understand what they are doing wrong and what they need to do to make the improvements. What are some examples of issues of noncompliances that result in a corrective action plan? Some failing to keep meal counts up to date in the computer or on the hard copies, like was previously said, failing the 5-day test during a review, changing numbers after a monitor's review, and failing to serve all the components of a meal. Issues of noncompliance can result in meal disallowance, which can result in loss of reimbursement money. So what does the provider need to write on the corrective action plan? Here in the middle is what the provider would need to explain and write a plan on how to not repeat the same noncompliance. And they will have to sign and date it and send it back to the monitor. And what should be in the corrective action plan? Here are some examples. The plan should very specifically explain how the noncompliance will be corrected, what steps will be taken, does staff need additional training, and will a second staff member be assigned to be assured that what is supposed to happen is actually occurring. And the plan should not merely restate the issue or be an apology. Responding to the corrective action plan. Please, 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 it's extremely important to respond to the corrective action plan by the due date. The sponsor will accept the plan or may request additional information. And ignoring the corrective action plan or request for additional information could lead to being out of compliance with the CCFP rules and a late reimbursement check. And we hate for a late reimbursement check. What is a bad response to a corrective action plan for failing to keep meal counts? Here are some examples. I am so sorry for not keeping the meal counts up to date. The facility has been shorthanded and the person who handles meal counts has been out. Or maybe my meal counts are the same every day, so there's no reason for me to record them after each meal. What is a good response to a corrective action plan for failing to keep meal counts on hard copy? The provider will print out weekly attendance and meal counts for each classroom, like was previously stated. Teachers will be assigned the duty of checking off the children as soon as they finish eating. And the provider director will consolidate the meal counts from all classrooms at the end of the day, either by entering them into the computer or recording them on the meal count summary sheet. What is the bad response to corrective action plan for changing numbers after review? Basically, an apology. I am so sorry. It was just a mistake on my part. It won't happen again. And this is what a good response to a corrective action plan for changing numbers after review will sound like. Before submitting my claim for the month of the review, I will compare my numbers to the numbers on the site review form to make sure they all match up together. Important reminders about our receipts. This is very, very, very important about our receipts. All receipts are due every month on the 5th, not after. Please, please, please try to get your receipts submitted in by the 5th of every month. Receipts from grocery stores and wholesale club stores are printed out on paper that causes ink to fade away over time, which is why we need copies of the receipts. Receipts must be taped neatly on white paper and copy. Do not send in the original receipts unless from a wholesaler. Receipts must be clearly readable and the method of payment and date must be shown. What should be on the receipts? Never include any receipts that are personal for the CCFP receipts. Please make sure you total up each receipt without the tax included and put a star by each meal that is purchased. Please put a check mark by non-food items. Never use white or black markers on receipts. Just draw a fine line through the items not to be included. Please make sure you make copies of your sheets for yourself before you send them in. Please make sure your receipts back up your menu. That's really, really big when it comes to our receipts. Purchase items or receipts should be for food items clearly shown on your menu. For example, if bananas are on the menu once a week, but we only see that bananas were purchased at the beginning of the month and no substitutions were made on the menu for the bananas for the rest of the month, we know there were not enough bananas purchased and meals with bananas will be disallowed. Non-food items. Non-food items used only for the food program are counted as 100% CCFP expenses. Non-food items used throughout the center, like paper towels and garbage bags, are only counted as 50% for the CCFP expenditures. Here are some examples of non-food items that are really confusing. So this is a little bit of a breakdown. So non-food items that is never allowed is toilet paper, tissue, fuel charges, laundry detergent, office supplies, bathroom deodorizer, and baby wipes. Food items that is allowed 50% will be paper towels, disinfectant spray, garbage bags, gloves, hand soap, and spray bottles. And what will be allowed for 100% is cups, plates, napkins, silverware, dishwashing soap, wax paper, aluminum foil, and kitchen utensils. This is an example of a non-acceptable receipt. So basically this receipt does not have the date on it that it was, so that's definitely will not be accepted. When getting ready to submit your receipts, please double check that the date is shown, the prices aren't missing, and method of payments can be verified. Any receipts that are paid with EBT or SNAP will definitely not be accepted, and further actions will be taken to and including termination from the food program. And this is an example of an acceptable receipt. This shows all the receipts should look like once you're totaling up everything and submitted it in to us. Dates, the vendors, and the prices, method of payments, all of the clear and visible to see. Reminder, please be sure to purchase infant formulas and or infant foods if you will be claiming infants. Receipts will be checked for formula purchases and the baby food. This allowance will be made if you are claiming infants but not purchasing formula or food for the babies. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Crediting combination foods.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Leticia Vargas, CCFP specialist. In the next slides, I will be talking about accrediting combination foods. What are combination foods? Combination foods are foods that provide more than one component of a meal. Examples of combination foods are pizza, chicken nuggets, macaroni and cheese, and fish sticks. Some combination foods are purchased from a wholesaler, wholesale club, or grocery store, while others are made on site. Next. Required documentation for combination foods. Documentation is required to show that the combination food has sufficient quantities of meat, meat alternate, grains, vegetables, and/or fruit to meet the meal pairing. Otherwise, the food cannot be counted towards a reimbursable meal. There are three forms of acceptable documentation. The first one is the Child Nutrition or CN label. The second one is Product Formulation Statement or PFS, and the Standardized Recipe. Next, the CN labels. The CN label on a product states the serving size of a product and the meal contribution per serving. If you're using a commercially processed combination food item, you must keep a copy of the CN label on site. Here below, we can see an example of a CN label. This one is from fish nuggets. So 5 breaded fish nuggets provide 2 ounces of meat or meat alternate and 1 serving of bread alternate. Next. The product formulation statements or PFS. The product formulation statement also states the serving size of a product and the meal contribution per serving. The product formulation statement can be obtained by calling the 1-800 number of the packaging of the food item. Can be faxed, email, or mailed to you. Will be different for each manufacturer. Must contain a statement about the amount of meat or meat alternate, grain, bread, and/or vegetable or fruit component per serving. And the product formulation statement must be signed by an official of the manufacturer, not a salesperson. Next. So here in this slide, we can see a sample of a product formulation statement. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, it has the product name, the description, and it's so important to see that it's signed, in this case, with a quality assurance manager. Next. CN labels products are harder to find. Finding products with CN label in a wholesale club store is very difficult at this time. As CN labeled items get harder to find, it will be necessary to obtain a product formulation statement for combination processed food items on your menu. We have gathered product information statements from a variety of companies and put them together in a handout showing serving size for each age group. The handout has been mailed to you in the annual meeting packet. So it's so important if you receive your annual meeting packet to open it and look at it because you have important information on it. To use, I'm sorry, Edna. Can you go back?
Gotcha.
Okay, to use, this is so important. To use items not listed on the handout, you will need to obtain your own product formulation statement. Next. Okay, for some items with product formulation statement, the required serving size is excessive. This is because processed food items are made in a such a way that very little meat is included in the final product. Here, there's an example of meatballs. These are from, these are great value from Walmart. And we can see here that for age 1 age 1 to 2, 12 meat. We have to serve 12 meatballs. For 3 to 5, 18 meatballs, and for 6 to 12, 24 meatballs. So this is a lot of food for a child. So what you can do to serve a more reasonable amount of food, a meat alternate can be used to supplement the main meat offering. For example, 1 stick of string cheese is 1 ounce of meat alternate. You could serve 1 to 2 years 6 meatballs and half stick of string cheese. 3 to 5 years, you can serve 6 meatballs and 1 stick of string cheese, and 6 to 12 meatballs and 1 stick of string cheese. What else can you do? So you can just avoid using processed food on your menu altogether. So the other option is the standardized recipe. And these ones are required for foods prepared on site or homemade. A standardized recipe are recipes that have been carefully adapted and tested to ensure they will produce a consistent product every time they're used. Standardized recipe include the following: recipe title, the ingredients, weight and volume, the preparation instructions, cooking temperature, serving size, and recipe deal. And here below we can see a link from USDA. So I'm going to share in the chat box so we have more information about standardized recipe. Next. So in this slide, we can see an example of a standardized recipe. This one is a macaroni and cheese. This is a common food item that usually is on the menus. So you can see here the ingredients, the servings. So here is for 50 or 100. You can see the weight, the measure, and the directions or the procedure. And that's all for my portion. Thank you for your time and attention.
Up next, we're talking about feeding infants. Important reminders.
Very good. Good evening, everybody. My name is Bruni Matos, and I will present the infant feedings.
Did you need me to go
All
back?
the infants must be enrolled in the Child Care Food Program. All the providers participating in the Child Care Food Program must offer meals to all children, including infants. Even if you do not plan to claim infants, they must enroll in the Child Care Food Program. Each infant must have an application form and an infant feeding form on file in our office. Completing the infant feeding form. A signed infant feeding form must be on file for each infant enrolled. A copy of the form must be sent to your monitor. The form clearly indicates to the parent that they are not required to bring formula or food for their baby. A center must choose at least 1 iron fortified infant formula that they are willing to provide, and this must be listed on the form. This is a sample of an infant feeding form. In the first line, indicate the iron fortified formula that the center will provide. If the parent chooses not to accept the formula the center provides, they can write in what they will bring, like a breast milk or a different formula. The only exception is the Early Head Start sites, which provide whatever formula the child is on. Parents can see that they are not required to provide formula or food. Next. It is important to support breastfeeding mothers and infants. A mother can choose to breastfeed her child in the child care center, and the meal can still be claimed for reimbursement. Breastfeeding offers many health advantages for infants, such as they get sick less often, they do not speed up as much, they are less likely to be constipated, and they are less prone to allergy, asthma, or eczema. This is a sample of a U.S. meal pattern for infant. If this were you guys will receive it in your annual packet that at this point, most of you guys might have it already. Please make sure that when you get that envelope, please post this in the kitchen. This is the birth to 11-month infant pattern. This is divided by 2 age groups, birth through 5 months. At this age, baby at this age can only suck and swallow. All nutritional needs are met through breast milk and or iron fortified formula. The second group is the 6 month and older. And we are going to introduce the solid food at this age. How to know if the baby is developmentally ready for solid food? The baby should be able to sit in a high chair with good head control. The baby should open his mouth when food comes his way. The baby should be able to use his tongue to move food from the spoon to his mouth. The baby should be able to use his whole hand to grab objects. When should a baby start to eat solid? Solid food should be introduced to a baby around 6 months of age and after consulting with the parents. This is very important. Researchers show that introducing solid food too early to a baby's immature digestive system can result in very serious food allergies or food intolerance. The parents must sign the infant solids feeding form before the center can offer solid food to a baby. Use that opportunity to find out what food the parents has already tried with the baby. This is an example of the infant solid feeding form. As you can see, the parents have to sign and check off that form. 6 through 11 months. Babies at this age are still receiving breast milk and or iron fortified formula for every meal and snack. A vegetable or fruit or combination of both must be offered to the baby at every meal and snack. What else can they have? For meals, infant cereals or meat alternate can be offered at meals. Example would be like a shredded cheese, cottage cheese, infant meat, mashed beans, yogurt, or whole eggs. For a snack, you can serve a grain bread component can be offered with the formula and the required fruit or vegetable. Examples of snack items will be infant cereal, teething biscuits, credible cereal, snack, like puff, cubes, or bread or saltine crackers broken into pieces. How much does the baby have to eat? A meal or snack is reimbursable as long as all the required components are offered to the baby while he or she is in care. The baby doesn't have to eat the entire meal or snack offered for the meal to be reimbursable. There are new rules for combination food for infants. Baby food dinners containing meat and a pasta or rice will only credit as a meat. The rice or pasta will be considered an extra. Baby food combinations, food containing meat and vegetable, baby food dinner will count as a meat and a vegetable. Recommendation for serving combination food to infants. To prevent an allergy reaction, please make sure that the infant has eaten each ingredient in a combination food individually before giving a mix of food to prevent any reaction. This is a credible baby puff for snack. The only baby puffs that are credible are those that resemble a cereal, have a texture like a puffed rice cereal. Look for the words cereal snack. Sugar must be 6 grams or less, and the first ingredient must be whole grain or enriched. This is the food that cannot be served to infants. Please, cow's milk, honey, fruit or vegetable juice, infant cereals in a jar or pouch, baby food desserts, nuts, seed buttered, yogurt covered snack, baby puff with rice flour as the first ingredient. When is a medical statement needed? A list of formula that require a medical statement is located in our 4C website. These formulas are for children with serious medical conditions. If a child over the age of 1 is still required to stay on formula, a medical statement is needed to explain why. This is the list of formula that require medical statement. And like I said before, you can find it in our 4C website. Or you can ask your monitor to send you one. This is an example of the standard infant menu. In the top, it has to state the iron fortified formula offer should be listed. The standard infant menu should be posted in the baby room and in the front lobby area for parents to see. The name of the facility should be on the menu. The name of the iron fortified formula offered by the center should be listed. If you are claiming infants that are over 6 months old, we must see formula or baby food on your receipts. If you are claiming infants that are developmentally ready for solid food, you must supply either the formula or the baby food in order to claim the infant. If there is no formula or baby food on your receipt, all those infants' meal will be disallowed. Food safety guidelines for infants' formula and breast milk. Please wash, rinse, and sanitize bottles, cups, nipples, and other equipment. Refrigerate prepared formula immediately. Refrigerate or freeze breast milk. Do not heat bottles in the microwave. Label bottles with the baby's name and the day and time of preparation. Throw out unused breast milk or formula after feeding. Do not put cereal or other foods in the bottle. Some of the food safety guidelines for infant food. Please clean and sanitize high chairs, trays, kitchen surface, and counters. Wash and rinse jars or pouches of baby food before opening. Do not heat jars in the microwave. Serve baby food from a dish, not the jar. Watch bibs after each use. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
You are muted, Edna.
Sorry about that, guys. Next up is food allergies for infants and young children.
Hi, I'm Melissa Owens. I am new to the 4C family. I am the quality assurance specialist, and I'm going to talk to you about food allergies today. Food allergy facts in the U.S. Food allergies is a growing public health concern. Nearly 11 million or 8% of children have food allergies, with young children affected most. Boys appear to develop food allergies more than girls. Although childhood food allergies to milk, egg, wheat, and soy generally resolve in childhood, they are resolving more slowly than in previous decades, with many children allergic beyond age 5. What is a food allergy? A food allergy occurs when the immune system responds to a harmless food as if it were a threat. The first time a person with a food allergy is exposed to the food, no symptoms occur, but the body has now been primed. When the food is eaten again, an allergic response occurs. Symptoms of food allergies. An allergic reaction can take place within minutes or take several hours after exposure to the food. Common symptoms include itchy of the mouth or swelling, GI symptoms such as vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, hives, eczema, tightening of the throat and trouble breathing, drop in blood pressure, flushed skin, or rash. How fast will symptoms occur? A reaction can occur within a few minutes or up to 1 to 2 hours after eating the food item. It is not just a lunchtime event. Sometimes it appears the symptoms are gone, only to return 2 to 4 hours later. There are 9 major food allergies that we see common in childcare. These are eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, and sesame.
Milk.
And milk. 90% of all serious food allergies come from these groups. Most common food allergies in children. In infants and children, the most common foods that cause allergic reactions are egg, milk, peanuts, tree nuts like walnuts, almonds, cashews, pecans, macadamia nuts, and coconut, soy, wheat, food allergies generally develop early in life but can develop at any age. 1 in every 20 children under the age of 3 has a food allergy. Food allergies can be life-threatening. Managing an egg allergy. The best way to manage an egg allergy is to completely avoid eating eggs. It is not possible to adequately separate the yolk from the white for a child with an allergy to eggs. Managing a peanut allergy. The only way to manage a peanut allergy is to avoid peanut and peanut-derived products. That is why we encourage providers to eliminate peanut butter from your menu if you do have a child in your care with this allergy. Peanuts are covered under the specific labeling requirements. That is why understanding and reading labels is important. Anyone with a peanut allergy should avoid products that may have been contaminated by peanuts in a manufacturing process. Epinephrine should be administered in the case of a severe reaction to peanuts. Managing a wheat allergy. Managing a wheat allergy involves strict avoidance of wheat ingredients in both food and non-food products. Non-food products containing wheat include items like Play-Doh, some cosmetics, and bath salts. Options for wheat-free items include foods made from other grains such as corn, rice, quinoa, oats, barley, and rye. The recent growth in gluten-free products is making it easier to manage a wheat allergy. When you're in the stores, you'll see tons of products. Managing a soy allergy. As with other allergies, strict avoidance of soy or soy products, soy milk, soy sauce is the best way to prevent a reaction. Reading labels carefully is important because soy may be added to items one would not expect it to be in there, such as dressings, sauces, and even some foods like crackers, breakfast cereal, processed cheese, hot dogs, and deli meats. It is not always easy to recognize the presence of soy on a label as they use other words instead of soy. Managing milk allergy. The only way to manage a milk allergy is to avoid milk, other dairy products, and products containing milk proteins. These are added as an extender or filler in certain foods. Labels should be read carefully since milk proteins are often used in products you would not expect to contain milk, such as canned soup, instant mashed potatoes, deli meats, and canned tuna. Use margarine or coconut oil instead of butter, and coconut cream instead of dairy cream. There are also some dips and salad dressings that may contain hidden milk protein. Food allergy versus intolerance. A food intolerance refers to an abnormal response to a food or food additive, but it is different than an allergy in that it does not involve the immune system and does not result in life-threatening reaction. The inability to digest the lactose, sugar, and milk is an example of a food intolerance, which causes gas, bloating, diarrhea, but is not life-threatening. Here are some credible milks. You can find some on store shelves, and then others are in the refrigerated section. Medical statement. A medical doctor must provide a statement specifying exactly what the child can have in place of credible fluid milk. There are now 9 different options to choose from when a milk substitution is needed. If the doctor writes rice milk or almond milk, you may purchase these and claim the child. If the parent buys the rice or almond milk with no doctor's note, the meal cannot be claimed. Here's the new medical statement. You would find these in your packets that were mailed out. They must be signed and dated by the doctor. The doctor must be specific on what can be served instead of cow's milk. This form should be used for any food allergy. This is also a new form. It was in your packet as well. This is the parent preference form. This should be used when a parent prefers a child not to have cow's milk or another type of food for personal or religious reasons. Is the child allergic to all dairy products or just milk? Credible Milks and Milk Substitutions in Florida Care Food Program. Here's a list, kind of shows you some of the credible and what you're looking for on labels. This is also in your packet. Thank you for your time and your attention.
I think that wraps us out, doesn't it? Let me
Yep.
see, I can stop sharing. Okay. Anybody see any questions in the chat?
I did respond to one of the providers that asked, are they allowed to withdraw students through KidCare? And I told them no, they would have to email Ms. Vonda the child's name in order to get that withdrawn.
Okay. I am going to, at this point, stop the recording. And I'm going to give y'all the rest of your